we gotta talk about Willow, because it is a really problematic show, and honestly, it really frustrates me because I had high hopes for it, and it has not panned out. I honestly was not a huge fan of the original movie. I watched it again before the show. To me, it's kind of a mediocre fantasy, but I was still excited for the show. I watched the trailer, I reacted to the trailer, and I thought it looked like, hey, this could be really fun kind of while we're waiting for our next set of Star Wars stuff to come out. How can I put this? It makes Rings of Power look like the Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter Jackson. It's that rough. So the two major problems with this show are weird story and logic leaps and inconsistent acting. And let's hit the second one first because it's the easiest and simplest to talk about. I don't mean that individual actors have inconsistent characterization, although occasionally they do, but the main thing is that not all the actors are in the same show. And what I mean is you've got, people like Warwick Davis who are very much in that fantasy kind of space, and then you've got, especially a lot of the younger actors are acting and talking like they are in a high school drama set in, 2005 or 2020 or whatever. It's like, what is going on here? It's very weird. It does not often feel like fantasy dialogue. Now, I don't want to give all the blame on the actors. I think some of it probably does come down to the scripts and that they're written probably by 20, 30-year-old screenwriters who don't really understand the way that you should be writing fantasy dialogue. I can't say the actors are blameless because, somebody like Warwick Davis is delivering what you'd expect from a fantasy show, but a lot of the actors, it's just like, do you know what show you're in? What is this kind of weird way that you're delivering your lines that could, be taken out of 2022, not a fantasy show like Willow? And that never fails to just yank me out of it when I'm like, this joke doesn't make sense, or this way you're delivering these lines doesn't sound fantasy at all. And, that would be fine if the original movie had been that way, that would have been okay, but it really wasn't. Even though, it wasn't the highest quality fantasy, it still was very much in that high fantasy kind of way of delivering dialogue. And this simply is not. 7 episodes in and it has not gotten any better. It's like some of these actors are literally just playing themselves. I've never seen the actress who plays Kit in anything else, but she literally seems like she just walked on set and is playing herself. Can't even think of what his name is, but the actor who's kind of like Alora's trying to be her love interest, he was a sidekick character in the Spider-Man movies, can't think what his name is. He seems to literally almost be playing that same character as he was like the sidekick in Spider-Man. Like it doesn't feel like he's bringing anything different or unique or interesting to that role. Alora, probably the most frustrating to me because I feel like she should be this character that does more and is elevated and is, she doesn't have to be this amazing wizard or sorcerer, early on, obviously not, but I feel like she should fit into that world more. And she doesn't. She feels like sometimes she does a little bit, but then she goes right into the sort of modern Valley Girl, whatever kind of talk, especially when she's interacting with Kit. And it kind of drives me insane. There's other characters that are problematic too, and I forget which episode, 2, 3, I think it was 3 or 4, we had these basically like woodcutter ladies who were wearing denim and, acted like they were in like Tucker and Dale versus Evil or something like that, and that was weird. And a lot of the characters that were really good, like Valentine, he felt very medieval. He got killed off in like episode 2 or 3, so we lost like some really good actors. And like Warwick Davis, he's kind of the main draw for me. He's the reason that I'm still watching it, because obviously like most of us who grew up watching Star Wars and Harry Potter and all these different shows and movies are familiar with him and enjoy him, and he was a big draw for me. So he's doing all right with what he has, but I feel like he just doesn't have that much to work with. You know, Borman is kind of terrible. Honestly, like episode 7, I think I was about 40 minutes into it. It's roughly a 60-minute episode, probably 55 before credits. And like I was, you know, looking on the computer being like, how much do I have left? This is just dragging. It feels really boring. I've had that several times. And that really brings me to the other big issue, which is the bizarre plotting. There's logic leaps, there's character leaps, there's things that just seem very disjointed or characters arrive at and don't earn it, which is another big problem I have. There's moments that are like supposed to be these big moments, like in this last episode, Laura really starting to get magic, and oh, she seems to be getting visions from the, you know, the withered crone, and just all this stuff that hasn't had the groundwork laid enough so that it doesn't feel like it has gravitas or significance. It's just like, oh, this random thing happened and I almost didn't quite understand what was happening because it was just brushed on so fast and it just happened. Or things like early on in the series, Willow was very, very conservative with his magic because he felt like he didn't really have that much left because he's getting older and tired. And then in this last episode, he's just like using magic like left and right when training with Laura. And that didn't really make sense. Also, Laura started the show blonde, and in this last episode, her hair turned red, and there was no explanation, so I didn't know if they were like trying to show that, oh, she's more becoming Laura Dannon, like really coming into herself, or if there was just a snafu with the wardrobe department, or like what? But it was really, really weird because it wasn't even like, there was not really any subtext to it to like explain it, or even a line of dialogue which would have helped kind of understand it. Or there were, you know, weird things in this last episode with what's his face kind of sidekick. Apparently he's becoming a sorcerer dude, and like he like really cares about this like turtley creature, and I guess it's supposed to be kind of a emotional moment, like as it's getting sick, and then he lets it go. And there really wasn't any feeling to it. And it's just kind of weird and frustrating, all of this incongruities and stuff that doesn't really feel like it fits well. And it's kind of like the writers needed to do 2 or 3 more drafts, to be honest, because it feels like maybe they were just on a deadline. They're like, okay, we have to shoot, this is what we've got, let's just kind of roll with it and hope that the actors can somehow pull it together. And they did not, and those 2 things really make the show frustrating. Obviously, I've made it 7 episodes in, so of course I'm going to watch the finale next week, and then I'll give kind of my final thoughts. But it's definitely been a little bit of a disappointment of a show. I'd say it's the worst show that I've seen in the last year, but Halo still really takes the cake on that one. Halo is the cringiest, most frustrating show I think that I have ever seen in a show that I was excited about. Will I check out Willow season 2 if there is a season 2? I feel like there has to be, because I feel like there's way too many plot threads to tie up. But I'm not sure if I'll check out Willow season 2. I may, if they take in a lot of our feedback and try and course correct, or if it's still a big dumpster fire. So that's my thoughts so far, 7 episodes in on Willow. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How far have you gotten in the show? Have you given up on it? Are you going to stick it out for the finale? If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you very soon.